This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. It's Wednesday, January 7th, 2026. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout. Here's what's coming up on America in the Morning.
President Trump says Venezuela is sending tens of millions of barrels of oil to the United States. I'm John Stolnis in Washington.
The leaders of France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain and the UK defending Greenland's sovereignty.
We need Greenland.
I'm Charles de Ledesma.
Ukraine's allies say they've agreed to provide international defense guarantees as part of a proposal to end Russia's war. Sagar Meghani, Washington.
The S&P 500 index and the Dow each open at new record highs this morning as investors wait for Friday's December jobs report. I'm Jessica Ettinger.
Abortion will remain legal in Wyoming after the state Supreme Court struck down laws. I'm Julie Walker.
And Hilton responds after one of their hotel brands says no rooms for ICE agents. All ahead on America in the Morning. President Trump announced on social media that Venezuela will be turning over 30 to 50 million barrels of oil in the wake of the capture of their now former president, Nicolas Maduro, over the weekend. John Stolnis has the latest from Washington.
Trump made the announcement on his Truth Social account, saying the oil will be sold at market value and the proceeds of those sales would be, quote, controlled by me as the president of the United States to benefit the people of Venezuela and the United States. He asked Energy Secretary Chris Wright to execute the plan. At the current $55 a barrel, the U.S. could stand to make between $1.6 and $2.75 billion from the sale. At a retreat with Republican lawmakers Tuesday morning, the president urged oil companies to get ready.
I'm also meeting with oil companies. Let's go. You know what that's about. We've got a lot of oil to drill, which is going to bring down oil prices even further.
During that retreat, the president reiterated how important it is for Republicans to win the midterm elections this fall.
Because if we don't win the midterms, it's just going to be, they'll find a reason to impeach me.
Trump was impeached in 2019 for allegedly trying to pressure Ukraine to interfere with the 2020 election, and then during his final days in office when Democrats charged him with insurrection for the January 6th Capitol attacks. On the 5th anniversary of that day, the president said the media and Democrats have never been fair to him on that subject.
Do you know that the news never reported the words walk or march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol? Do you know they never reported it?
Trump told lawmakers at yesterday's retreat there's no way Democrats should be able to defeat Republicans and take control of Congress.
We had the worst president, did the worst job, they had the worst policy. We have to even run against these people. Now, I won't say cancel the election. They should cancel the election because the fake news will say, he wants the elections canceled. He's a dictator. They always call me a dictator.
The president did urge lawmakers to come up with a viable health care plan, which he says would take an important issue away from Democrats during the campaign. But much to the surprise of some in the theater, Trump urged Republicans to come up with some kind of compromise on federal funding for abortion.
Now, you have to be a little flexible on Hyde. You know that. You got to be a little flexible. You got to work something.
Trump offered no details on what a compromise would look like. John Stolnis, Washington.
On Tuesday, following word from the White House that President Trump is discussing options as to how the U.S. could acquire Greenland, whether by purchasing it or using military force, the UK, France, and Germany were among a number of European nations demanding the U.S. respect fellow NATO member Denmark and Greenland's sovereignty. This comes as Arizona's Ruben Gallego plans to introduce a resolution in the Senate to block Trump from invading Greenland by force. The latest from correspondent Charles de Ledesma. Audio courtesy of London's ITV.
The future of Greenland is for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark, and for Greenland and the Kingdom of Denmark only. And we're very clear about that. Denmark is a very close ally of the UK, both in Europe and in NATO, and it's very important that we stand by our ally.
The leaders issued a statement reaffirming that the strategic mineral-rich Arctic island belongs to its people, adding it's for Denmark and Greenland, and them only, to decide on matters concerning Denmark and Greenland. The leaders of France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Spain and the UK joined Danish Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen in defending Greenland's sovereignty in the wake of President Donald Trump's comments about Greenland, which is a self-governing territory of the Kingdom of Denmark and thus part of the NATO military alliance.
I will say this about Greenland. We need Greenland from a national security situation. It's so strategic. Right now, Greenland is covered with Russian and Chinese ships all over the place. We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And Denmark is not going to be able to do it, I can tell you. You know what Denmark did recently to boost up security in Greenland? They added one more dog sled. It's true.
Sir,
they thought that was a great move.
What would the justification be for a claim to Greenland?
We need Greenland from the standpoint of national security. And the European Union needs us to have it.
Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney also expressed his support and announced a visit to Greenland early next month by Canada's Governor-General Mary Simon, who is of Inuk descent, and Foreign Minister Anita Anand.
The future of Greenland is a decision for Greenland and for Denmark exclusively. It's their decision.
I'm Charles de Ledesma.
The top stories of the day are sponsored by Sleep Number. Enjoy personalized comfort for better sleep night after night. And now, the more you buy, the more you save on beds, bases, and more for a limited time. Only at Sleep Number or sleepnumber.com. A directive to Texas educators surrounding the assassination of Charlie Kirk leads to a lawsuit in the Lone Star State. We'll tell you what that's about when America in the Morning returns. While some parts of the country may experience unseasonably warm temperatures again today, early January is bringing some cold temps to parts of the east. Here's LaTroy Thornton.
It's been a rather warm start to the year for parts of the South, where cities like Houston and Tyler, Texas are 8 to 10 degrees above historical average temperatures so far in 2026, as well as the Southeast, where temperatures have been 4 to 5 degrees above historical average in places such as Dothan, Alabama, and Columbia, South Carolina. Today will bring more of the same from many of these places, thanks to high pressure and a warm air mass still over the area to promote at least some sunshine, with highs again 15 to 25 degrees above average from eastern Texas right into Virginia. In fact, a number of these places should have fairly similar conditions lasting through this week. By contrast, some snow is instead expected over parts of the Northeast, where a storm over northern New York gives way to another one building off the New England coastline to mean some flakes flying from New York, mainly early today, into Maine for what could be much of the day. The steadiest and heaviest of the snow should be confined to some of the highest terrain of Vermont and New Hampshire and into western Maine, where 3 to 6 inches of snow will be more likely, with lesser amounts of 1 to 3 inches more likely from the Adirondacks into western Massachusetts. Rain and drizzle are more likely to the south of there for the rest of southern New England early today. The west features 2 storms with separate areas of precipitation. In the southwest, a storm mainly focused over northwestern Mexico will lift far enough to the north to bring some rain to much of Arizona, and some of that rain extends into mainly southwestern New Mexico as the day progresses. For the northwest, the same storm that brought steady rain from Washington and Oregon and heavy snow for the Cascades continues to do so today. In Salt Lake City, today looks cloudy with afternoon showers and a high of 47. For New Orleans, fog gives way to sunshine and warmth today with a high of 79. That's the nation's weather. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts. You can listen on your preferred platform. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Ukraine's European allies announced they'll provide multi-layered defense guarantees as part of a peace proposal with Russia once there's a treaty in place. Washington correspondent Sagar Meghani reports the proposal also has the backing of President Trump's envoys who attended the meeting.
Ukraine's allies say they've agreed to provide international defense guarantees as part of a proposal to end Russia's war. The agreement would give Ukrainian forces equipment and training, backed up by air, land, and sea support to deter any future Russian attack.
This does not mean that we will make peace, but peace would not be possible without the progress that was made here today.
Trump envoy Jared Kushner was among those meeting in Paris with European leaders, including Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky.
We are each day a little bit closer.
But details of the defense guarantee plan remain uncertain, and Britain's Keir Starmer says there's another big variable, concessions from Vladimir Putin, and with Moscow still striking Kyiv.
Putin is not showing that he's ready for peace.
Sagar Meghani, Washington.
One of Texas's largest teacher unions is asking a federal court to block the state education agency from investigating teachers accused of making inappropriate remarks about conservative activist Charlie Kirk's assassination on social media. Alliance AFT is suing the TEA and Commissioner Mike Morath
for violating our members' First Amendment rights and targeting them for their protected speech.
AFT President Zeph Capo.
The policy itself is fundamentally flawed. It asks school districts to punish public school teachers for exercising their First Amendment rights.
The lawsuit argues that Morath unleashed a wave of retaliation and disciplinary actions against teachers when he encouraged school districts to report reprehensible and inappropriate content about Kirk's killing.
The consequences have run the gamut from written reprimands and administrative leave to doxing and termination from their jobs.
Texas AFT wants the court to require that Morath and the TEA retract the policy. The capture of Nicolas Maduro continues to lead to conversations about oil. How is the industry reacting? We'll find out in Wednesday Business when America in the Morning returns. Don't go anywhere. Here's CNBC's Jessica Ettinger with Wednesday Business.
Wall Street opens this morning after a record-setting day for stocks.
Ring in some milestones. The first ever close above 49,000 on the Dow. S&P 7,000 is in sights, too, and that is not to be ignored either.
Not at all, no.
CNBC's Scott Wapner and Mike Santoli. The Dow and the S&P 500 index each opened this morning at fresh record highs. Here's Aperture's Peter Krause with CNBC's Andrew Ross Sorkin.
What's the catalyst for the market to go down? There's just no catalyst for the market to go down right now. Now, right now means we're in the middle of a period of time when earnings haven't come out yet. We haven't seen a lot of government data. So right now the market doesn't have a reason to go down.
So you think there's a short-term floor on where things are?
I think there's a short-term bullishness to the market's going to continue.
Silver opens this morning at a new record high, above $80 an ounce for the very first time. Copper also at a record high. President Trump now saying that the U.S. may reimburse the big oil companies for cleaning up and rebuilding Venezuela's oil infrastructure after the capture of the former president, Maduro. Experts tell CNBC U.S. soldiers would likely have to be stationed in Venezuela to provide security for oil workers for years.
We can't control it from offshore. The oil fields are in the Orinoco Valley. The ports are many, many kilometers away. You have crumbling infrastructure that includes pipelines and roads. You'll need security in all those areas if you're going to exploit that oil. You're going to need American forces, the kind of security you need for a long period of time.
Retired Army Colonel Jack Jacobs on CNBC. European leaders have united to keep Greenland ruled by its own people after President Trump's threats to annex that country. Louisiana Governor Jeff Landry is a U.S. special envoy to Greenland, working with the president on a plan to acquire it.
Solidifying the Western Hemisphere is good for the United States and good for the states that are in the United States, like Louisiana. And Greenland is in the Western Hemisphere.
Ford is out with 2025 final car sales numbers. Overall, it was a 6% increase over the year before. Mr. Beast's Beast Games 2 starts today. 200 people competing for a $5 million cash grand prize. There are challenges. Amazon says season 1 was Prime Video's most watched unscripted show ever. On today's watch list, we get earnings from Albertsons, Cal-Maine Foods, and Constellation Brands. ADP releases its latest job creation data. We find out today how many people applied for mortgages last week.
Hilton is responding to accusations that one of their properties denied ICE agents from booking rooms. We'll tell you what the hotel chain said when America in the Morning returns after these messages. Abortion is now legal in Wyoming, as well as using abortion pills, after the Republican-appointed state Supreme Court struck down the Wyoming near-total ban. Correspondent Julie Walker reports.
Abortion will remain legal in Wyoming after the state Supreme Court struck down laws that include the nation's first explicit ban on pill abortions. On Tuesday, the justices sided with the state's only abortion clinic and others, ruling that the laws violate the Wyoming Constitution. A lower court judge struck down the laws in 2024, ruling they violate a constitutional amendment that says competent adults have the right to make their own health care decisions. Earlier, the same judge blocked the laws from taking effect. Wyoming sought to join 13 states that have banned abortion at all stages of pregnancy since the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade in 2022. I'm Julie Walker.
Hilton is removing a Minneapolis hotel from their hotel chain after one of their branded properties denied ICE agents from booking rooms. It's alleged that the Hampton Inn in Lakeville, Minnesota, canceled reservations en masse for bookings of Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents who were sent to the state by the Department of Homeland Security. The hotel, which is not owned directly by Hilton and is independently operated by Everpeak Hospitality, allegedly sent out emails to affected agents saying they were not allowing immigration agents to stay at their property. Hilton immediately reacted by removing the hotel from their system and apologized to DHS. America in the Morning for Wednesday, January 7th, 2026 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout, and this is Westwood One. This is America in the Morning from Westwood One. I'm Clayton Neville. Here's what's coming up this half hour.
It's the 5th anniversary of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. Hi up in Juwanee, Washington.
California Republican Doug LaMaffa has died, shrinking the GOP House majority. I'm Sue Eller.
The Trump administration says it is withholding funding for programs that support needy families in 5 Democratic-led states. Ed Donahue, Washington.
Riveting Uvalde school shooting testimony and new details emerge in the Brown University shooting.
NASCAR Commissioner Steve Phelps has announced his resignation after over 20 years with the organization. I'm Gethin Coolball.
The relaunch of CBS Evening News did not go off without a hitch. I'm Kevin Carr.
We'll be right back. Cold temperatures and snow in the forecast for some on the East Coast. Elsewhere, it'll be unseasonably warm again. Details from LaTroy Thornton.
An area of low pressure producing snow over northern New York Tuesday evening will still mean some areas of snow from New York into Vermont early today before transferring its energy to a separate storm off the New England coast that will track mostly northeastward or parallel to the coast, and that will be the spark for snow continuing into this afternoon over parts of New Hampshire and Maine in particular. These are the areas where the snow will last the longest for today, with the highest chances for poor travel conditions, as storm total snow of up to 3 to 6 inches can be expected from parts of northern Vermont and New Hampshire into western Maine. Just to the south of there, from southern Vermont and New Hampshire into parts of northern and western Massachusetts, precipitation today may end as sleet or freezing rain this morning, with the rest of southern New England more likely to have some rain and drizzle early today. There may even be a shower to start in New York City and especially toward Long Island, with leftover snow showers over northern Pennsylvania. Much of the rest of the Northeast looks dry today, as does the vast majority of the eastern two-thirds of the nation, with very warm conditions for January for much of the South and Mid-Atlantic, again threatening record highs in some spots. That leaves the more active conditions for the western states, where 2 storms will be in place today. Starting in the northwest, a disturbance that brought some steady rain to parts of western Washington and Oregon continues to do so today, with more steady, heavy snow toward the Cascades, and areas of rain and snow as far to the east as central Montana, while showers do reach northern California yet again. Another storm hugging the Mexican border means rain for the southwest, in particular much of Arizona, as well as mainly southern portions of New Mexico through the day today. That's the weather across America. I'm AccuWeather.com meteorologist LaTroy Thornton.
Remember to follow us everywhere you get your podcasts. Follow and listen on your favorite platform. Just search America in the Morning in your favorite listening app. Tuesday marked the 5th anniversary of the January 6, 2021 riot at the United States Capitol, which came after President Trump held a Stop the Steal rally outside the White House hours before on that fateful day. Correspondent Haya Panjwani reports.
USA! USA!
It's the 5th anniversary of the January 6th attack on the Capitol. 5 years ago, outside the White House, the outgoing President Donald Trump told a crowd of his supporters to head to the Capitol in protest as Congress was affirming the 2020 election victory for Democrat Joe Biden.
I know that everyone here will soon be marching over to the Capitol building to peacefully and patriotically make your voices heard.
A short time later, the world watched as the seat of U.S. power descended into chaos. A mob made its way down Pennsylvania Avenue, battled police at the Capitol barricades, and stormed inside as lawmakers fled. There is no official event to memorialize what happened that day. Instead, Trump will meet privately with House Republicans at the Kennedy Center.
In my speech, peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol, peacefully and patriotically. Do you know that the Unselect Committee didn't report it, that I said those words? Do you know that the news never reported the words walk or march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol? Do you know they never reported it? It's a scandal.
Democrats, meanwhile, will hold a hearing with witnesses.
5 years ago today, a violent mob incited by Donald Trump attacked the Capitol as part of a concerted effort to overturn the results of the 2020 presidential election and halt the peaceful transfer of power for the first time in American history.
5 people died in the Capitol siege and its aftermath. The Justice Department indicted Trump on 4 counts in a conspiracy to defraud voters with his claims of a rigged election in the run-up to the January 6th attack. Haya Panjwani, Washington.
The death toll is rising in Iran as demonstrations against the current regime intensify. Correspondent John Gambrell reports security forces have clashed with protesters, leaving at least 36 dead and scores more injured, which comes as the Islamic Republic's currency crashed against the dollar, and the nation's inflation rate is among the highest in the world.
Security forces launched tear gas today at demonstrators in Tehran's Grand Bazaar, the beating heart of the Iranian economy. Those demonstrators had been sitting in one of the alleyways in the labyrinth-like corridors of the bazaar. It's unclear what sparked the confrontation, but the protesters fled after the tear gas was fired and the bazaar shut down. It shows just the depth and the breadth of these protests that started back in December. So far, activists say that at least 35 people have been killed and 1,200 others have been arrested by security forces. Iran's government really hasn't provided an overall casualty or arrest figure yet, but they did acknowledge that there was an incident in western Iran in which security forces raided a hospital looking for demonstrators. This all stems back to Iran's ailing economy. The Iranian rial, its national currency, is trading at 1.4 million to $1 US. It hit a record low on Tuesday, and it looks like it's going to continue to fall under the pressure of international sanctions, mismanagement, and other economic issues. Now, also pressing on the Iranians are food supplies. We have seen a lack of imported rice as well as cooking oil not seen on Iranian shelves. That's in part because the rial is changing so much in its value that retailers and suppliers don't want to put it on the shelves. Also, we've seen price hikes in chicken as well as cheese. This will continue to pressure the Iranians, and as the rial falls and needed goods become more and more expensive for them, it's likely that's going to provide more fuel for these demonstrations that so far the Iranian government has been unable to stop.
That was correspondent John Gambrell. Opening statements began Tuesday in the trial of a former Uvalde school officer charged in the 2022 mass shooting that left 19 students and 2 teachers dead at Robb Elementary School. It's a trial that has significant implications surrounding police accountability in Texas moving forward. Prosecutors allege Adrian Gonzalez ignored active shooter training, failing to intervene.
He has been trained to go to the corner of a building and distract, delay, and impede the gunman while help is arriving. But Adrian Gonzalez does nothing more than mic his microphone and tell other officers what's going on.
Prosecutor Bill Turner said that Gonzalez was fully aware of how he should have responded.
He knows where he is. but Adrian Gonzalez remains.
It took police 77 minutes to kill the shooter and end the massacre, but defense attorneys argued Gonzalez didn't do nothing.
The state tried to make you believe was this insane amount of time that he had to do all of these things. From the time that he's here, from the time he first contacts Melody Flores to the time the shooter goes in the building on the side is about 1 minute.
Defense lawyer Jason Gross.
It's a man who is confused. It's a man who's talking, who has made assumptions that are understandable that turned out to be wrong. But he was trying.
Day one of testimony brought a number of witnesses to include a pastor who works at the funeral home near the elementary school. He described seeing the suspect crash his car and move toward the school. Other witnesses included Texas Ranger Jason Shea, who was the first DPS trooper at the scene, and DPS captain Justin Duck, who helped collect evidence. A former third-grade teacher from Robb Elementary gave emotional testimony into what happened that day. Gonzalez faces a maximum sentence of 2 years behind bars if convicted. The death of a Republican member of Congress leaves the House GOP's slim majority even thinner. We go to Capitol Hill when America in the Morning returns after this. A Republican member of Congress has passed away suddenly, leaving the House GOP's slim majority even thinner. Correspondent Sue Aller has details.
Republican Congressman Doug LaMalfa of California has died at the age of 65. His office announced his passing early Tuesday. LaMalfa served 7 terms in Congress representing a largely rural Northern California district. President Donald Trump reacted to the news.
He was the leader of the Western Caucus, a fierce champion on California water issues. He was great on water. He wanted to release the water, he'd scream at him. And a true defender of American children. He was a defender of everybody.
LaMalfa's district was redrawn after California voters passed Proposition 50, part of a bigger redistricting after Texas changed its maps. The change made several races more competitive. With LaMalfa's death and Congresswoman Marjorie Taylor Greene resigning and leaving Congress, the Republican majority in the House has narrowed even further. Republicans now hold a 218 to 213 edge, giving party leaders very little room as they try to pass legislation. The cause of LaMalfa's death has not been released. I'm Sue Aller.
5 states, all led by Democrat governors, are losing some federal funding that subsidizes daycare and job training programs. Correspondent Ed Donahue reports at least one of those state leaders is vowing a court fight.
The Trump administration says it is withholding funding for programs that support needy families with children in 5 Democratic-led states. The states are California, Colorado, Illinois, Minnesota, and New York. An official in the White House Budget Office tells the AP these states are pouring money out to people in the country illegally. The administration has not laid out details of either the fraud claims or the plan to hold back funds. The targeted programs are Child Care Development Block Grants, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, and Social Services Block Grants. New York Governor Kathy Hochul says she is prepared to go to court. President Trump proclaimed on social media the fraud investigation of California has begun. A spokesperson for Governor Gavin Newsom says Donald Trump is a deranged habitual liar whose relationship with reality ended years ago. Ed Donahue, Washington.
New details are emerging into the deadly shooting at Brown University last year. Correspondent Jennifer King reports.
Claudio Neves Valente, the shooter who killed 2 and wounded 9 students at Brown University in December, is also alleged to have killed a physics professor at MIT 2 days later. Now, the Department of Justice reveals that the gunman left behind a series of short videos confessing to the murders and said he had been planning the attack for at least 6 semesters. The FBI recovered the evidence from an electronic device in a search of the storage locker where his body was found. In a transcript from Portuguese, Neves Valente said he had nothing to apologize for before and complained about injuring his eye in the shootings. He said he'd had plenty of opportunities before, but always chickened out. And he denied claims spread by Laura Loomer that he had spoken in Arabic on entering the auditorium. He did not provide a motive for targeting Brown, where he studied 25 years ago, or the MIT professor with whom he attended school in Portugal decades ago. He said his only objective was to leave more or less on his own terms and to ensure he wouldn't be the only one who ended up suffering. I'm Jennifer King.
One of Wall Street's most respected investment banks has just added a Bitcoin fund, lending major credibility to cryptocurrency. Chuck Palm has this story today in his news segment, The New Old Tech Guy.
Wall Street giant Morgan Stanley has filed with the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission to launch its own spot Bitcoin exchange-traded fund, along with a similar product tied to the Solana crypto, the sixth largest cryptocurrency by market cap. This marks the first time a major U.S. bank has stepped up to issue its own crypto ETFs rather than just custody or advise on them. Creating a spot ETF means they directly hold the underlying cryptocurrency to track their prices more closely, giving investors exposure without needing to manage digital wallets themselves. The filings come amid growing regulatory clarity, including recent moves that allow banks to act as intermediaries in crypto transactions. Spot Bitcoin ETFs were approved 2 years ago and now hold $123 billion in assets, and inflows are starting very strong this year. When the news hit yesterday, the filings had just dropped, and the broader crypto sentiment is turning positive heading into 2026. Analysts are saying that Morgan Stanley's entry adds real legitimacy to the space and could pull in the wealthy clients quickly. Bank of America has also expanded crypto recommendations recently. This is yet another sign that blockchain and digital assets are moving deeper into mainstream finance. For more, follow thenewOldTechGuy.com. I'm Chuck Palm.
Robert Workman has sports.
Make it 7 NFL head coaching vacancies after the Ravens let John Harbaugh go after 18 seasons. That included a Super Bowl title, but that was in 2012, and the disappointing finishes over the last several seasons, including Sunday's last-second loss to the rival Steelers, may have indicated that a change was necessary. Hockey, the Islanders demolished the Devils 9-0 last night. Anthony Duclair with a hat trick and 2 helpers.
All the fans I threw their hats to. I mean, it's a great feeling. Shout out to Mom. Mom was in town, and it's her last day on the island. So, I wanted to play well for her, and I'm glad that she got to witness that.
At the other end of the ice, Ilya Sorokin stopped 44 shots in his first game back from injury. A hatter for Connor McDavid, including a penalty shot as the Oilers poked the Predators 6-2. Lightning won their 8th straight, 4-2 over the first-place Avalanche. Sabres skewered the Canucks 5-3. That's Buffalo's 11th win in 12 games. Golden Knights edged the Jets in overtime. 10 losses in a row for Winnipeg. Maybe just peg for now, but it will come back to you. NBA, the Lakers got 30 points apiece from LeBron James and Luka Doncic as they subdued the Pelicans 111-103, despite a career-high 42 from Trey Murphy for New Orleans, which has now lost 8 in a row, to which Indiana says, hold my beverage. The Cavaliers rally past the Pacers 121-16, so it's 13 straight losses, the most by an Indiana team since they came over from the ABA back in '76. Victor Wembanyama had 30, but Cam Spencer scored the last 5 points of the game to push the Grizzlies over the Spurs 106-105. Victories for the Timberwolves, Mavericks, and Wizards. That's Wednesday Sports.
The son of a former president passes away. We'll tell you who and how America is paying tribute when America in the Morning returns after this. Michael Reagan, the elder son of former President Ronald Reagan and actress Jane Wyman, has died. Reagan, one of the former president's 5 children, was a conservative author, nationally syndicated radio talk show host, and frequent public speaker who spent decades actively defending and promoting his father's legacy through close involvement with the Reagan Library and Foundation. Michael Reagan died after a battle with cancer. He was 80 years old. A longtime commissioner of a major American motorsports league is stepping down amid controversy. Correspondent Gethin Coolbaugh reports.
NASCAR Commissioner Steve Phelps has announced his resignation after over 20 years with the organization. His departure follows a federal trial where inflammatory texts he sent during revenue-sharing negotiations were revealed. Phelps will leave at the end of the month, ahead of the season's start. His texts, including a derogatory comment about Hall of Fame team owner Richard Childress, led to backlash from supporters. His contributions to NASCAR include expanding its international presence and returning the sport during the COVID-19 shutdown. NASCAR has not announced plans to replace him immediately. I'm Gethin Coolball.
The new CBS Evening News has started off with a number of problems that even the new anchor is calling a bit terrifying. Entertainment reporter Kevin Carr has details.
Tony DeCopel, the new anchor of CBS Evening News, has promised to have viewers hold him accountable for mistakes, as heard on his New Year's Day address on the program.
I'm Tony DeCopel, the anchor of the CBS Evening News. Hold me to it.
However, his first day as anchor did not go as smoothly as he had hoped. And now viewers and critics are doing exactly what he asked, even if the mistakes were technical issues and a misstatement. The big problem occurred during a story transition on Monday, as heard in this original broadcast of the CBS Evening News.
All right, to other news, as you just heard from Jill. Well, to other news now, to Governor Walz. No, we're going to do Mark Kelly. First day, big problems here.
A smaller hiccup happened later on when they eventually got to the story about Minnesota Governor Tim Walz.
A surprise announcement from the Great Lakes state there today. Tim Walz, the 2024 Democratic vice presidential nominee.
While Minnesota does border Lake Superior, the largest of the Great Lakes, the term the Great Lakes state is a nickname reserved for Michigan. Gaffes are sometimes unavoidable on a live news program, so when CBS archived the show on their YouTube channel, they quietly fixed the errors.
All right, now to another one of today's top stories. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, a surprise announcement today from Tim Walz.
Of course, this was not before viewers and commenters pounced on the mistakes, holding DeCopel accountable. I'm Kevin Carr.
America in the Morning for Wednesday, January 7th, 2026 is produced by Jeff McKay. I'm Clayton Neville in for John Trout, and this is Westwood One.